such products, if built well and distributed well enough, can be multi-million dollar products for sure. And maybe one of these could also have to be $1 billion product. That's how I'm thinking about the space in general. Spotify recently launched this thing, right, wherein you could sort of dub your podcast into multiple languages within Spotify. That's a terrific validation for the use case. You want to increase the reach of your podcast,
Podcast.
and the only way to do that is, of course, I mean, you can distribute and all, but the other way is that you sort of translate or convert it to more languages if built well and distributed well enough. You think of the user when you think of the product. We built out a great product. We spent like 2-3 months on building the tech out. We launched it very generically and we made some revenue, but then that was not significant compared to what other players had done, because they were very clear on who they were targeting. In a market like this, which is like super volatile, right? Every day something new will come up, and you built out something for 3 months, and on the 91st day, someone comes in and builds out an API which does that out of the box, right? It's very difficult to stay
You
motivated.
need to be very gutsy, man. Welcome, Vatsal. Finally, you are here. We have been chatting a lot about the advances in AI and how you have been rocking the product hunt, right, by successfully launching multiple products over the last few months. Kudos to that. And it is so great to see a friend who is like going deep into the emerging trend of technology and, really adding value. So I'm sure this podcast is going to be a lot of learning for myself, right? And anyone who is interested generally in tech, generally in AI, generally in product building, this should give a lot of key insights and key learnings. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thanks so much, Vaibhav. Like, I mean, glad to be here. Look forward to this year. I think it's gonna be fun one chat with you.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think would love to know more about what you are doing currently at 1811 Labs. Go to the, origin journey and story later, but why don't you quickly tell all of us about what is 1811 Labs aiming for, what's the core mission, and what are you building there?
Yeah, sure. So I mean, 1811 Labs is, just a bunch of us, hacker, product people, growth people, no coders, coders, designers coming together
Hmm.
to, build and ship products. The idea is very simple. We pick very small ideas, niche ideas that we can build out very quickly, build them, grow them, scale them. And then if we see that, if there's potential, we'll go after that idea. If not, then, we either sort of, move on to another idea, or probably find someone else who sees potential in that idea. That's very much
Hmm.
what we do. We build, a lot of products, have a lot of fun while we do it. And the idea is very simple. We want to learn the process and the art of building great products, explore generative AI, micro products, SaaS, and all of these, fancy things that you sort of see on Twitter. And at the same
Hmm.
unlock a lot of milestones in terms of growth, right? One aspect is to learn, multiple types of modalities in AI. You build a text to text product, text to image, a combination of these complex workflows and all of that. And the other idea is to sort of learn, how you can sort of reach 100 paying customers, 1,000 paying customers, how you can, hit $1,000 revenue mark, then $10,000, then $100,000, and so forth. So it's both vertical and horizontal in that sense. And there's a bunch of people who are passionate about building products and learning stuff coming together and doing this. That is what 1811 Labs is.
Awesome. Let's make it more interesting by just putting out some revenue numbers out there. I think it's already public by the way, because you keep on posting on Twitter. So the last two products, which kind of went successful or semi-successful, as you would like to say, have contributed more than what, $35,000 USD in revenue already?
I mean, the audio notes and pod notes been around 4, 5, 6, around 5 odd months now. We recently surpassed $40,000 in revenue.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
with that, and we also launched another product yesterday.
Yeah.
Very micro product, but happy to see, some paying customers coming in there as well. A few $100 in revenue over there as well. So yeah,
Hmm.
but overall we've built out around, now 7 products. Two of them have been acquired. All of them have made some sort of money, and the
Hmm.
two which are doing really well right now, and the ones we are focusing on audio notes and pod notes, they've done decent amount of revenue. But again, right, like I said, it's just the start. Idea is to sort of, make it big from here.
Absolutely, yeah. It's really like impressive, by the way, to see the kind of shipment speed you are building with, right? And of course, utilizing it with the right GTM to like a superb revenue, I would say, at this scale, given you are a very lean team, use a very lean stack. So I'm sure you might not be paying a lot of infra costs as well. And majority of the revenue coming in would be the profit part, right? Because I don't think so you're spending too much in marketing as well, right?
So I mean, we actually don't do any kind of, paid ads or click ads and things like that.
Hmm.
Primarily because
No performance marketing, etc.
no performance marketing as such, because that is not something that we are comfortable with. And we did some, napkin math, and we realized that it does not make sense for us as a bootstrapped company, so to say, to
Hmm.
go after these ads in general. Maybe in the future, but right now I think there are enough and more ways for you to sort of, hit some early revenue numbers without, relying on paid ads. And since there's no pressure of growth, external pressure, right, all of our
Hmm.
milestones are internal. So because of that, most of our marketing efforts have been rather towards the organic side of things, product and launches, Twitter, content, Reddit, and all of these things. And we have not spent as much on marketing. I mean, we've rather spent anything on marketing. And even in terms of infra, most of the apps run on very lean models. One of the apps that we built out had a higher per usage cost, but the authorize was that. But now that is Deadpool. But all the other apps, right? Technically, I don't think we pay more than $100 per app per month for any of
Oh,
these apps. There is a caveat to that. We rely a lot on, figuring out jugards to sort of not pay for things that we don't think we should be paying. Of course, all legally and all, but we do try to sort of leverage credits as and when wherever available and all of that. But
hmm.
even if we were to pay, right, we wouldn't be spending as much. The margins would be pretty healthy, like the typical SaaS margins that you'd see out there.
Nahi, yeah, this is really great in the sense of how not only the product building framework is in place, but also the right GTM and the right economics model is also in place. You're not like shelling out a lot of money, especially at the start of your bootstrap company in performance marketing, etc. So it gives you a good fuel to take more bets, build more products, right? Like थोड़ा यार अब AI के बारे में specifically बात करते हैं, right? And when I look back at the kind of products you have developed, you have majorly focused, utility or tools which can be blended with AI and give some kind of better experience to like a particular niche, right? Be it podcast, be it let's say content creators and so on and so forth. Having said that, AI में आपको पता ही है कितना तेजी से डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, right? मतलब literally you are developing something today and after 6 months you will, or even earlier, you will find that, let's say, bigger players like OpenAI, like Bard, etc., have come in and, literally offered something which you were, getting paid for as free or at a very minimal cost because they are, of course, scaled up giants, right? So, what is the thought process and framework when choosing these products or these ideas to work upon? Because whenever you are building, I think you will, even though micro SaaS, but you will want to optimize on the longevity of that project, right? So how do you decide on that?
Right. I mean, two parts to this, right? Pehle, yeah, I mean, let's break this down, right? AI, so I think until now or until the last couple of months, right, any product, most of the products in the space, right, be it, big SaaS or micro SaaS, a lot of it was AI hype train, right?
Mm,
Oh, AI is going to take your job, AI is going to do that, AI is going
mm,
to create this, AI is going to do that, right? And people were very curious. That was
mm,
one of the reasons why most of the people were using all of these apps in general. And
mm,
of course, ChatGPT had a major role to play in terms of educating users about the possibilities of AI, right? Okay.
mm,
So what has happened till now is a lot of us, I mean, who are on the internet are aware that there is this thing called AI, which is powerful,
mm,
which can do a lot of stuff that we can do. Okay. And Chat GPT and AI are synonymous, right? But that is it, right? And the kind of people that we interact with are the top, zero point 0.5, zero point 0.3, 0.1% of the users, right? So for us, we know that, if a Chat GPT or a Bard or something else brings out a functionality which does something, or builds out something, we might as well be like, okay, this is the best thing for us to use, right? But then there are like what, 4 or 5 billion internet users, or I don't know, even more, right? The
Yeah.
markets, the markets are huge, right? So for them, they probably know what AI is, but they don't really care. They want their problems to be solved. So until now,
Mm.
the number of people who were on the hype train, who were trying to understand AI, were the users. And now gradually I see that the shift is happening towards AI being an enabler to solve problems better, right?
Mm.
And then if you pick a particular problem statement, for instance, summarization, right? People want summaries, right? That's it. They don't really care whether there's a human at the back end, or there's a LLM who sort of, which is sort of summarizing that, right? So 3 months back, or I mean not 3 months, but 6 months back, someone will use a tool for summarization out of pure curiosity and intrigue to try AI. But now, of course, there would be such users even now, but the other users that would use such a tool would be for summarization, who are looking for a solution for summarization, right? So
Mm.
that's how the landscape is evolving. And the reason why I tell
But
you that,
let's say, sorry to stop you here, but let summarization, right? It's a pretty, I mean, common use case of what, let's say, OpenAI offers in their open APIs, or not open APIs, in their APIs, or let's say in their interfaces, etc. So how do you then take a call that, okay, you are then eventually competing with their interface or their product, right? So how did you take that call?
yeah, right. So I mean, first of all, again, markets are humongously huge for anything
Mm.
built out, of course, until and unless it's like super niche. But in this case, right, Chat GPT is a generic product. Let's
Hmm.
say, while it might have very specific modules via the OpenAI store, people might use it, but then again, it's a very generic product, right? I'll give you an example. I was sort of automating some data for pod notes, right?
Hmm.
Creating certain flows on Google Sheets so that I could have a decent enough view of how the usage is going about and all of that, right? I am a,
Hmm.
I think I'd be one of the top 1% users out there, right? I have a Chat GPT premium or subscription,
Plus.
and a lot of other subscriptions as well, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
What did I do? I went to Google. I was not able to, figure out one formula in the Google Sheet for
Hmm.
automation. I
Hmm.
went to Google, and what I did was I was like, I mean, formula generator Google Sheet. That is what I put
Hmm.
in. And then the first thing was that key, how do I, create a formula for this problem statement? Google was giving me random Stack Overflow gyan and all. I was like, nahi, acha AI karte hain. I went and typed key formula generator, AI formula generator. I could have gone to ChatGPT and use ChatGPT to do this, but then this was my instinct. Might as well change in the
Hmm.
future, right? But what I've come to realize is that specific use cases will be addressed in a different way. There will be
Correct.
specific, UIs and UXs for those use cases as well. Chat GPT is
Hmm.
a generic application, Bard is a generic application, might not as well be suited to solve for that. While they will be leading in terms of driving a habit change, in terms of bringing out this whole conversational flavor of how we consume internet.
Hmm.
This chat wala UI which is there, right? UX which is there, ki you ask a question, you get a reply. It's very humanly now, the internet
Hmm.
evolved towards that. But then how you sort of want your problems to be solved and how you interact with internet, right? A lot of it still will be going via Google, or relying on specific,
Other blogs
yeah,
and
blogs,
going through that.
applications and all, right?
No,
So
and I think one interesting part here is also like, even though let's say OpenAI launched GPTs, right, where you can train with certain of your own context and so on, but Google search is not going away, or let's say websites are not going away, which will lead people to different kind of flows on the internet network, right? So not like, one thing which I feel can eventually lead to more adoption, right, of GPT products, which is, let's say if someone launches a public GPT, and I don't know if it gets SEO enabled and so on and so forth. So let's say you would have typed Excel formula generator, and you would see a GPT created literally at the first result, and you would have used it, right? But of course, I think that is a matter of time. There is definitely an opportunity where people are searching of particular niches and they get some response out of it,
yeah, I
and
mean,
that is where you are tapping in, I guess.
yeah. I mean, see, simple. Your market is big. OpenAI is tapping onto certain segment. huge segment of market which is left, they are still not well versed with how the internet is going to change, right? They will still,
Hmm.
it will take a lot of time for these users to move to the new way of internet,
So
the con.
you are saying the adoption of the tech will be delayed and hence the opportunity to use that and drive that traffic to, let's say, niche products.
Exactly,
Is
right.
that
So
it?
that is the short-term opportunity. And while you build solutions for, these people, you'll also build for the top people, or I mean, you'll have some flavor of that. And gradually you'll figure out your own niche, or how the market is evolving, and find a place within the very big bubble which will be out there, right? So I think
Hmm.
actually I think it's a very good signal if an OpenAI or a Bard builds out a specific functionality. It is just even more validation that that particular is something that people actually needed. For instance, Spotify recently launched this thing, right, wherein you could sort of dub your podcast into multiple languages
Yeah.
within Spotify. I mean, that's a terrific use case, terrific validation for the use case, right? Key, you want to increase the reach of your podcast.
Podcast.
Yeah. And the only way to do that is, of course, I mean, you can distribute and all, but the other way is that you sort of translate or, convert it to more languages, dub it to more languages, right? Now, does it mean that since Spotify is doing it, that if someone builds out such a app, would that not work? I don't think so. The Spotify as a company, the core thing that they would still do is streaming. This is an added feature just to show the world that they are also thinking AI first now. Okay,
Correct.
right? They will still not make this a complete product, right? And people will, when you want to sort of, let's say, dub this podcast into 10 languages, Spotify might
Hmm.
will be expensive, the UI might not be great, or you might as well, for some reason or the other, prefer some other service, right? So
Hmm.
it just does not mean that since a big player is doing something, that you shouldn't be building in this space. It's just enough and more validation. But the caveat here is that if you're trying to build out a multi-billion dollar business, right, then you have to be very careful because of obvious reasons, right? The
Of course.
entry would be like very difficult.
Yeah.
Spotify can spend billions of dollars in marketing. You can't probably
Yeah.
early on, until and unless you're able to raise like shit ton of money, right? So it really depends on what you are going after.
Hmm.
For us, thankfully, right, we are not chasing, we probably, the idea is not to sort of, build out billion-dollar products out of each one of these. I mean, that's not the starting
Hmm.
point. That could be something which can be an outcome, right?
Hmm.
I definitely see that, such products, if built well and distributed well enough, can be multi-million dollar products for sure. And maybe one of these could also,
Yeah.
turn out to be a billion-dollar product. That's how I'm thinking about the space in general.
No, no, I think it's also very similar to, let's say, how stock market is, right? That you diversify your portfolio and probably 10% of it will give you enough returns to cover the rest of it. Not a complete analogous example, but something on
Yeah,
those
there
lines.
might be
That
some.
if you have a portfolio of products and probably two of them end up becoming multi-million dollar and one of them maybe gets a $1 billion acquisition. It sounds very, very exciting to hear. So I'm hoping that
Yeah,
happens
I
for
mean,
you.
all up for it if that happens. But yeah, I mean, see, again, right? I think that, if you have like very rigid or very strong aspirations like these, right, the product building experience will go for a toss here, and
Hmm.
we might not be able to do things that we are able to do right now, right? Because
See, it's a different game also, I feel.
yeah, I mean, if I want to, so I think I would want to focus on the inputs here, right? And let, markets and everything else come together and decide the outputs. And of course,
Hmm.
we will try to optimize for everything which is possible, right? We've also sold two products, very micro acquisitions, right? But wherever we've seen the opportunity, we've tried to sort of latch onto that, right? I think in a market like this, which is like super volatile, right? Every day something new will come up, and you built out something for 3 months, and on the 91st day, someone
Hmm.
comes in and builds out an API which does that out of the box, right? It's very difficult to sort of, stay
You
motivated.
need to be very gutsy, man. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah.
hats
So
off.
for those reasons, I think it's better to, have fun. Otherwise, there's just like I just can't imagine the kind of pressure and stress that a lot of funded founders might be going through these days. Right. They might have
Yeah.
spent enough and more time on, building out great products, and now the landscape is shifting. They have like
Yeah.
so much pressure from their stakeholders, competition, and all of that, right? So I think for those reasons, I think I'm in a very happy space right now. And
Hmm.
that probably will enable us to sort of build out better products and decent enough products. and probably, achieve some decent amount of revenue as well.
Yeah, this sounds fair because based on the multiple discussions and of course this ongoing conversation we have had, you have been able to like clarify in your mind what you are trying to achieve out of it and not just going after, ambitious and or ridiculous numbers just for the sake of it. You know how the process would look like, and the great part is that there is a high, agency process framework which you have put in place. So which will, of course, at a certain frequency keep on shipping products, right? I also look at, you can call a business function or, or service or whatever, but I also, I think I read it somewhere, but just to trivialize it, always think of any business revenue related function into two cents, which is one is product and second is distribution, and it's a multiplication of both which gives you the impact. So if one of them is down, you have a problem, right? Now you say that you are figuring out niche products and and hence taking more bets on products, right? So your net revenue would be the summation of the product into individual distribution of each. What's your go-to strategy while launching a product, right? I mean, I want to understand the practical anecdotes, right, which have worked for you, which have failed for you, so that I'm sure there are so many people, so not only let's say college students, but also young folks, developers who are tinkering in the AI space, and it would be a learning for all of them because, and especially for tech, because I come from a tech background and I can very well feel and observe that we have a lot of bias early in our careers into building versus saying that okay boss, let's take a step back, let's hold on and see what is the distribution here, what is the GTM here, right? So tell me more about that.
Yeah, I mean to the just a sentence before this particular discussion, right? Our distribution probably is summation of all the products. It's not just one product into one distribution.
Hmm.
Think of this as a suite of products wherein 1811
Similar
Labs
kind of people are
1811
coming.
Labs has all the emails,
Yeah.
right? I can cross sell everything to everyone,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? So that is also
So
one
you
of
have
the
an overlapping niche basically.
yeah. Because all of these products are related in some shape and form,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And that way, I think if any of the product goes viral, right, there is a very high probability that all of them can go viral or all of
Hmm.
them can make decent revenue, right? I mean,
Correct.
just passing off that thought, but yeah, I mean, of course, see, product into distribution. If you think of that as a multiplication, right? If both are at one, it's okay. If any of these goes below one, right, then that even if the other one is like performing really well, then you're going for a ride, right? If you don't,
Absolutely.
so that is how you have to think about building products. That you
Hmm.
can't separate out product building with distribution. So when you start the process of building out a product, you parallelly work on the distribution bit. How do you do that? Is when you think about your user, right? That who am I gonna distribute this product to, right?
Hmm.
Now, what I've seen that a lot of techies in general or builders in general, right, would have this idea, would be mesmerized by the idea, and would go all romantic about it. Yeah, this is the next big thing and all of that. Build it out. Some great products out there, but then they might as well build it out for everyone, right? They'll be like, "Har koi use karega," and such ideas rarely work, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, someone they think that is not good enough, right, will build out a very shitty product compared to their product, but will be very clear as to, YC companies, for instance, will use it. It does only one job, yet his or her product will make enough and more revenue, right? So you can't separate the two out when you think about building products. That is the first part. You think of the user when you think of the product. If you don't, then you'll probably face like what we did with Avtarize. We built out a great product, I think, like 2 3 months on building the tech out. We launched it very generically and we made some revenue, but then that was not even significant compared to what other players had done because they were very clear on who they were targeting, right?
Hmm.
Whereas we were not clear. We were like, it's an avatar generator app. Everyone would want, and everyone can try and
Hmm.
create avatars. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
most stupid argument ever. But then gradually we figured that, it's probably not, tech is useless until and unless you know who you are building it for. Product or tech does not really make sense until and unless you have users or you have
Correct.
clear path to users, right? So then we had a shift in mindset and strategy that we will now build products, but we'll have users in our mind. So once you have that, right, your product becomes a little better. Because you have a thesis, right? These kind of people will use it. You'll think along those lines, probably talk to a few of them or probably look at proxies, suit your product better to them. And then once the product is ready or the beta version is ready, you'll start rolling it out. You'll get some early feedback, make it even better. So your product bit is now sorted. And distribution bit is also at one, not below one, because you know who you're building it for. Right.
Correct.
And then you go, then now when you look at the typical marketing funnel, right? What is, you have traffic, you have signups, you have uh, a paid conversion number, and then you have average revenue per user, and then that is your revenue, right? This is how it flows. Once you've taken care of the product and the landing page and all of that, you ensure that your conversion numbers below the traffic funnel are sorted. That you'll make 5-6% of the people will come and pay, or of
Right.
the signups will come and pay. So now you try to optimize on that funnel. How do you get more and more people? Now you know who your user is. Let's say founders for a particular product, any early stage founder is my user, right? You will try, what we try to do is we try to find avenues where these people spend time on the internet. Is it, Vaisika Hacker News, that forum which is out there, right? Is it Twitter?
Correct.
Is it a particular Reddit community? Are there, WhatsApp groups that we can go and target, right? Then it's very easy. And the worst possible thing that we could do, right? We can also do that, right? We can just, find emails of these users or reach them out on LinkedIn. Thousand people, hire a virtual assistant and do that. Even doing that, I'll get some users, right? Now, generically, what I'll do, I'll, tell everyone, even you and, someone else as well. It's very similar to, pitching about a posh restaurant and handing out leaflets right at Sony Signal to everyone and anyone who's coming there. Right, you
Correct.
can't be doing that. You probably, should be going to Indiranagar outside Cred's office and distributing the leaflets over there rather instead. So that is how you think about product distribution and user. And then it becomes a little more simpler. The first early set of users, then you sort of build upon them, grow them, and then you try to create loops around them.
Got it. No, yeah, very, very fair point of being specific and choosing your niche. I am sure it's not as easy as you made it look, but multiple iterations of it will help someone reach there. But great insight, yeah. Matlab, this
No, I
model
mean,
and framework.
it's not easy,
It's
right? But
yeah,
what it helps you out with is that your efforts are concentrated
yeah.
and you have a clear result after a certain point in time. I had this hypothesis that it will work for these kind of users. I took these steps, I did these interventions, and this is the result. Okay, nahi chala, theek hai, that's okay. Because your product will likely have 3, 4, 5 ICPs or target users. Right? You can then go parallelly attack all of them, attack one of them, and then move on to the second. Then probably, figure out that if it is worth the effort, right? Are you thinking right or not? You can assess better. That's the whole
Correct.
point of doing this. It's not about that if you do this, you'll make money. It's about that if you do this, you'll not waste more time.
Fair, yeah. This sounds great, and I mean, really liked the line where you said about focusing of efforts because generally, I think which a common problem amongst all of us is that we want to do everything together simultaneously, and which just leads to us depleting our energy and focus areas. So having let's say milestone based plans or GTMs etc. definitely is a great way to seed a product and see how it grows. Yeah, I'm also in general very passionate about learning, right? And I believe that especially we are in an era where we are so bombarded with information and so many things happening here and there. But I generally feel that there's a lot to learn in this evolving world, right? The jobs are changing, the products, the projects, the technology which we work on are really changing. Literally, in the next 10 years, maybe we wouldn't have lot of grunt work jobs which we have right now, and we'll be having so many virtual team members in our company, right? Rather than having all humans. So I don't know. There are so many things, but The crux here is that people who will evolve are the people who are really curious and are, really taking that ride on the learning curve, right? In whatever areas they are interested in. How do you and your team particularly take care of it? And there are two reasons to like ask this question. One is, of course, that you are a product studio kind of a setup where you need to, really brainstorm more, ideate more, growth hack more, and build products, and hence need to understand the what's and hows of what is happening. And second is survival, right? Since you are into this tempting space AI, where of course, so many people are jumping in to build something every day. And even the bigger players in the industry, like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, etc., are really pulling their forces to ensure that they are, ahead of the curve, right? So any launch they can make, of course, will somehow or can somehow impact, although we can talk about sizing and the kind of impact, but in a macro, this would be a concern, right? So what is your framework and what are the principles you are following right now with your team to ensure that you are literally aware of all the advancements happening in this space?
Right. I mean, it's very unstructured, to be honest, right? Probably, I think what we've been doing really well is, we've been very curious.
Mm,
I think that is one aspect, right? I mean, at any point in time, someone or the other will, pull up a tweet or a Reddit post and, put it on the group randomly.
mm,
And we'll then discuss, we'll then fight over it. I mean, team members were like, this is going on at OpenAI, Sam is back at OpenAI, and all of the saga that happened in the last 2, 3 days, right? I was
Sam
like,
is back.
yeah, Sam is back, right? So I was like, I mean, this is all bullshit. I mean, it does not really affect us. Why are you guys sort of wasting time on that?
Mm,
Right,
mm,
because we were sort of shipping out a new product. We were also sort of shipping out a new version of an existing product and trying to focus
mm,
on Black Friday and all. But then even despite that, right, curiosity is very high in general. All of us are like really interested right now. We see that there is an opportunity out here, and we are probably witnessing something path breaking. There will be a paradigm shift in terms of how we interact with the internet, right? Probably 5, 10 years down the line, all of this will change, right? And
yeah.
we are in the forefront of all of this. We know what is going on, and being geeks and nerds in some shape and form, right? We just try to, spend some time on Twitter, Reddit, and all of these channels where we get our alpha. If we find something interesting, dive deeper, talk to, some great folks.
Which
Uh,
is your most active channel? Like
I
in
think
terms of value, is it Reddit or Twitter?
I mean, it largely depends on what kind of, content or learning that we are targeting. If it's generic, if it's news based or something like that, or, what's happening in the space, I think that would be Twitter. If you want to dive deeper, right, look at what people are doing, what are the use cases which are being unlocked in open source and all, Reddit is a better channel, right?
Mm,
If you want to
mm,
see case studies in the indie space, indie hackers is fairly decent. You'll find some great alpha on hacker news and all of these things. So
mm.
it's a mix of all of these things. So curiosity
Yeah.
is one which sort of everyone is sharing, and we are so much active and all, right, part of these groups and communities. Second, I think all of us have this DNA that we sort of learn by doing, right? I'll give you an example, right? Rushabh, who's the no code alpha and does a lot of product work as well, right? Is an architect by training, right?
Mm,
He's not a trained software developer, but he probably understands as much as any, trained engineer in terms of what APIs are,
mm,
what servers are, how do you build around them, right? It's all because he's built out products and there is passion for building, right? Shaunak, who has designed most of our products, who's the design ninja, right? He was a technology analyst, right? Before this,
mm.
he's not someone who's taken any formal training
Education for design.
in design, right? And he's been like designing like crazy. I love the products that we're building now. Once he has come in and sort of helped us build them out. So I think
Mm,
everyone is very curious. Everyone has this passion for learning by building. And I too, right? I do not have any formal training in product, AI, and all of that. I used to sort of sell groceries for a living for the longest time before this, right? So
Okay, I'll come to
yeah.
that.
So I mean, it's just that it's a combination of these things which has helped us, stay on top of what's happening and try to make ourselves felt we have that presence in the space.
Got it. No, yeah, I think curiosity is the real element which is leading to all this path-breaking journey and success. So if that is a common trait you have amongst the top people, I think you are at a great position to, dominate in terms of, getting things done, in terms of putting best things out, because everyone is chasing or, building with the right kind of mindset. So that's super great. Now, since you talked about your grocery selling experience, let's deep dive a bit. So, as you said, you used to sell groceries. I think is not the right way to justify your job at all. Right. So, but yeah, jokes apart, I have a very particular question and want to really keep it brief. You have been a category manager at Flipkart, where you were, of course, looking at the grocery and related stuff. You worked at a VC for almost 10 years. So you
7, 8
know,
months. Yeah.
yeah. So look, closer to 10 years. So yeah, you know the in and outs there, and you are now a full-time builder and shipping products like crazy, right? And last thing, which would be an ending note for this podcast, is what would be your, let's say, specific advice to anyone who is now exploring to build or start building projects. It could be side projects, it could be like full-fledged projects like you are building, or even, let's say, from a perspective of learning and understanding the space. What is the right way to access tools, resources, and plan this journey?
Right. I mean, I think early on when I took a sabbatical from Flipkart to join Entrepreneur First, right? The reason was that I wanted to start up, but I did not have a technical co-founder, right? And most
Hmm.
people stop at this point that, hey,
Hmm.
I'm not a technical founder or I'm not a business person, so I can't do the other bit, right? I don't think that really makes any kind of sense anymore. If you want to build out a product in tech, right? Early on, you will have to do everything from tech to non-tech in some shape and form, right?
Correct.
Your mindset should be, you should be prepared for that, right? That's one. Second, there are enough and more ways to sort of, validate your ideas and figure out ways in which you can work out with people to, ship your products even if you can't build tech, right?
Hmm.
There's a side process to it, I think, which works really well. So all of these inhibitions that, I don't have a co-founder, I don't have that skill set, dude, you have to sort of, learn that if you don't have it. If you're not
Hmm.
comfortable around people, get comfortable, get out of your comfort zone. Building products is all about that. That's the first point. Second, just ship. I mean, it does not really have to be a great product, it does not have to look nice, it just have to work, right? If you have gone past that stage of, being able to build something out, don't try to aim for perfection, does not really matter. Ship something out, get users, it's very important.
Hmm.
Don't keep it to yourself. If you're able to do these things, then you'll figure out, right, whether you want to build out a side project, whether you want to, start a company, venture fundable company, so to say, or whether you want to continue doing this, whether you like product building, or, you probably may as well be comfortable with your job as well, right? So I think side projects or building out projects, it's a great exercise for exploration. The best way to do that is to sort of, get out of the comfort zone, ship something, and get users. If you're able to do that, you'll probably find answers to all your questions.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you for these practical notes, which, of course, people who are looking to build can pick up and contribute upon. When are we hosting the $1 million revenue party now?
I mean, I don't know the answer to that question. I hope it's soon enough. I hope that happens also. For sure, right? We have a
So we
first
have
degree.
it on record.
No, no, we have a first degree connection, Bravo, right? So any which way will be there.
Cool. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Vatsal. Thank you for taking out time. It's been a great 1 hour discussion, and probably I got to know a few more things from the AI space, and will definitely be reaching out to you to understand more here and there. I'll also be posting your social handles in the description so that anyone who wants to reach out and connect for opportunity, or even to learn, understand from your team, or try out for any kind of reason, would be easier for them to reach out. So thank you for your time.
No, thanks so much. Thanks for so much for doing this. Fun chat.